It's so good to be here. I tell you, talk about pressure. You hear have our Congressman Pence saying what he did, and you have Senator Holden saying what he did. I feel quite inadequate right now to be here. But I tell you what great leadership we have from Matt and from Travis and Jeff, and of course Mike Pence, who I just truly admire, and I believe that God has him at the right place at the right time for many great things. But anyway, Ralph, thank you for the invitation. It's very good to be here, and appreciate the opportunity to be here. It was actually 2 years ago that Christy and I made our first stop here in Wells County. It was actually the first Lincoln Day outside of our state Senate district at the time to start exploring the idea of running for the U.S. Senate. And I remember that coming in here quite nervous and thinking about just meeting new people and what would be the experience. And some of the first people we met have just become very close friends of ours, and you all have been so kind to us in so many different ways. But the Stollers and have been just fantastic. In fact, our boys were going to be here tonight, and Amy offered them to go swimming. So think about it, Lincoln Day dinner or swimming. It wasn't hard for them to make that choice, and as Jeff said, we could all probably just go swimming this evening. It'd be nice. But then, of course, Josh and Heather Barkley are also great friends, and we've just come to know so many people down here that we truly regard as friends, and are looking forward to serving this part of Northeast Indiana. And as many people, as you know, going from the old 3rd District, which included all of, or most of Elkhart County and all of Kosciuszko County, now that's shifting more to an eastern central district, so that'll include now Huntington, along with Jay County, part of Blackford, Wells, and Adams County, along with Allen and LaGrange, Steuben, DeKalb, and Noble County as well, and Whitley as well. So, and then there's parts of Kosciuszko. So it's going to be, it actually moves more from a manufacturing district to more of an agricultural district. So I'm quite comfortable with that, being a farmer from LaGrange, and I'm looking forward to serving in Washington for this great part of the state. I tell you, Christy and I, Mike has been such a great friend in so many different ways. I went to him and said, okay, if we're going to do this, I want to keep my family together, because at the end of the day, obviously, if losing your family in politics, it doesn't make any sense, because if we're out talking about family values and you lose your family while in politics, what a bad representation of not only the Republican Party, but ourselves as families and communities and the values that we have. And so I asked him, I said, well, what's the best situation for what would be your advice to us as a family? And he suggested, he said, you know what, Marlin, he said, I would move your family to Washington with you. Take them with you, because you spend a lot of time there. And he said, that's what I did. And he said, I haven't regretted it one bit. He said, I get to see my family. And he said, you're going to come up and hug me one day if you do that. Well, Christy and I decided we're going to try a hybrid of that. And we decided that we would take Christy and the boys along to Washington for the winter months, and then be home during the summer. Well, we came home last night, actually. We brought the whole family home. We've been able to have them home periodically throughout the winter and spring. But the boys have been quite restless, because they're ready to get home and get on four-wheelers and be riding around the farm and things like that. And it was kind of funny, because over the Easter break, we had the four-wheelers out, and Peyton, our 9-year-old, we were out driving around, and he pulls up beside me, and he had his helmet on, and he was all excited to ride his four-wheeler, and he pulls up beside me, and he said, Dad, he said, this is what farm boys do. And it's like, that's good. I'm glad to hear my son talking like a farm boy from Indiana than from anybody, some boy from Washington. And but they're just the delight of our lives. Preston, our 5-year-old, he's full of it, and he's got tons of energy and quite the few sayings. See, Christy, she likes to dress him up, and the one day he was going to go with me into the office there in Washington, and she was putting on just a nice polo outfit and some shorts and something that I would have wanted to wear rather than wearing a suit. And Preston looks at her and he's like, no, Mom, I can't wear this. I have to wear a suit and tie. And so Christy's like, well, why do you think that's so important? He's like, well, because I'm going to Congress. And she said, well, what do you think, what does Congress do? And what does Daddy do in Congress? And he said, well, votes. Well, what does he vote on? Well, he votes for more Congress. That's just what we need, right? But it is good to be home. We drove home last night, and thank goodness for Christy. We had a long week this week, and we got to the Pennsylvania line, and I was driving, and we left out there about 6 o'clock, and we were determined to get home. And we got to the Pennsylvania-Ohio line, and driving everybody back, and we had the jingling jars in the back, all of the canned goods. Christy's a canner, and we took all these canned goods out there, and as the jars were emptying out, we were putting them in a box, and so we stuck them in the back of the car, and driving home from Washington, the jars are jingling back in the back, and the boys are sleeping and trying to stay awake, and thankfully the last hour and a half she drove the rest of the way because I was just out, but I think she was just as determined to get home as I was, and I kind of now know what work release feels like, getting back home. So it's been a great honor though, and a great experience to be serving in Washington at a time in our country that I believe is just pivotal. This is a crucial moment in the history of our nation. The choices that are going to be made over the next 6 months, I believe, really are going to determine the future of America. And so I count it a great privilege and a great honor to be able to be there and to serve with great men like Mike Pence, who's been just a great leader in so many ways. And one of the things that I appreciate about him, his advice to me was, he said, when you're working with the Democrats, he said, just always keep a smile on your face because it really makes them nervous. And I think that's the way he is, though. He takes an approach where he treats people with respect. He's a gentleman. He's kind. But at the same time, he stands on principle and he stands on the values that he believes in and that people right here in Indiana believe in. And I just can tell you, having been in Washington now for the last 6 months, there is no place like Northeast Indiana, and serving and taking the values from here to Washington. We need more and more of those values in Washington. That's probably been the biggest difference that I've experienced in seeing just the vast variety in the differences of people from across the country who all converge under one place and to share their ideas and of course push their different agendas. It's been truly remarkable. But I know for a fact that what constantly brings me back to those conservative principles and those values is what I learned right here at home, learned right on the farm there in LaGrange County, being a fourth-generation farmer and having the opportunity to work at a young age and to learn from my granddad and from my dad the value of hard work, because that's what it takes to make things happen. And so I'm just so proud to do that. And also, I got to say, it's also very humbling to be giving a speech tonight in front of Richard Murdoch, who's one of the great Lincoln Day speakers. If you've ever heard Richard Murdoch give a Lincoln Day speech, whether it's history or whether it's facts, which I guess they're both, but he gives a remarkable Lincoln Day speech. So it's very humbling, and I'm glad to see him. It's been a fantastic and wonderful leader, and I respect him tremendously. But I want to talk tonight a little bit about the future and how do we address it as the Republican Party. Because I believe that this is an opportunity for us as Republicans, but also for us as Hoosiers to be leading. People are looking to Indiana from all across the country in Congress and saying, what are you guys doing that is different than most of the country? I mean, we're a state that has a balanced budget. We have the fastest growing economy compared to GDP, one of the fastest in the country. We were just ranked the third freest state in the country after New Hampshire and South Dakota, and that includes a variety of things in the statistics of economic freedom and social freedom. And I think that's something to be proud of. I'm proud to be a Hoosier tonight. I'm also proud to be an American, but I am more proud to be a Hoosier and going to Washington, D.C. and saying, you know what? Look at what we've done in Indiana. Look at the leadership that we have there, and it all comes back down to leadership. It comes back down to Travis and Jeff and Matt and our governor standing up in Indianapolis and saying, you know what? We would love to spend a lot of money, but we don't have it. I mean, it's this very simple principle that my granddad taught me on the combine seat, that you can't spend money that you don't have. And we have put ourselves here in this country, Washington politicians have put ourselves in a very vulnerable position.